It's laughable to hear Donald Trump say all he wants to do is clean up big law and law firms and those that practice in federal courts because he sees tremendous abuse. Who would know the abuse of federal courts better than one Donald Trump? 17 of his lawyers were sanctioned by federal judges, lost their bar licenses, received discipline, were indicted and or convicted related to representing Donald Trump and the lies around the 2020 election and their meritless filings. One is a coincidence. Two is interesting. 17 is a pattern of deception practiced by Donald Trump and his lawyers before federal courts. For Donald Trump to now come out with a proclamation that he says, oh, shucks, folks, it's just me trying to protect the American people and national security, but trying to get rid of some bad big lawyers and law firms, that's a lie. That's Donald Trump now retaliating against one of the pillars of our democracy and the rule of law. He has no respect for the rule of law. He's allergic to the rule of law in our constitutional republic. He went after judges and is continuing to go after federal judges so hard that the Supreme Court Chief Justice had to come out and basically tell him to stop publicly in just the last week. He's gone after in a vindictive way and removed career prosecutors. All they want to do is do their job, regardless of fear or favor and regardless of political affiliation in the Department of Justice. He's gone after judges before, as we know, when he was a criminal defendant Trump, criminal convict Trump, a judged fraudster Trump, sexual abuse adjudged, and all of that. So why did we think it would be any different when he became president of the United States and felon in chief? So this new proclamation is a clarion call for law firms to step up, remind the world that 17 lawyers are in jeopardy of losing their bar licenses or lost their bar licenses or went to jail, including Alina Habba that currently works for him, who got fined over $1 million along with Donald Trump for what? A meritless filing, the exact same thing that Donald Trump is now accusing Big Law of doing and that he's just trying to police. I'm Michael Popak. You're on Legal AF. This is beyond the wolf inside the chicken house, the chicken coop. This is beyond throwing rocks from a glass house or stones. This is Donald Trump lying to the American people again. He has no interest in making people's lives better. He's not trying to make you figure out how to stretch your paycheck an extra day or two longer, how to support your aging family, how to support your child in their education or their health, put food on the table, put gas in your tank, get to work, have your children cared for, have children. He doesn't care about any of that. This whole election was a fraud in order for Donald Trump to get into a position of power to bully pulpit in order to retaliate. And now the law firms have a choice. You either point out, as I'm doing, that Donald Trump is a fraud, that he is the emperor has no clothes, as disgusting as that applied to Donald Trump is, that 17 of his lawyers have been on the receiving end of federal sanctions, discipline, disbarment, and I'll just name a few, just the top hits. Alina Habba, currently working for the American people on taxpayer dole, sanctioned along with Donald Trump $1 million by Judge Middlebrooks in Florida, in Southern District of Florida, federal court for a meritless filing where Donald Trump, as Judge Middlebrooks put it, dressed up a political screed going after his enemies as a lawsuit. Fine $1 million under Rule 11. So for Donald Trump, I'm almost going to choke on this, to put in his new proclamation, declaration, memo to the Department of Justice that they should go after lawyers who may violate Rule 11, sanctions for bad faith filing, he should know. He's been sanctioned $1 million for it. And Alina Habba too. Rudy Giuliani lost not one but two bar licenses representing Donald Trump and taking meritless positions in 2020, and on the receiving end of $158 million defamation judgment. Sidney Powell, Ken Chesborough, Jenna Ellis all pled guilty to crimes in Georgia related to representing Donald Trump. Lynn Wood, Georgia lawyer, lost his bar license as a result of representing Donald Trump and spreading conspiracy lies about the election. Alan Dershowitz was sanctioned by an Arizona court. Now, it got reversed only because he wasn't the lead counsel. He was only of counsel. Otherwise, they would have sanctioned him as well. Arizona lawyers, Michigan lawyers. John Eastman lost his bar license. That was the constitutional scholar. 2 judges found that John Eastman was more likely than not participated in a crime or fraud related to Donald Trump and their representation. Several lawyers were found to have participated wittingly or unwittingly in a crime or fraud and had their privilege stripped away from them, attorney-client privilege, by a federal judge, generally Beryl Howell, the chief judge of the D.C. D.C. District Court. So you've got the ones that were disciplined, disbarred, suspended bar license, indicted, convicted, fined, and the rest. And now Donald Trump, and there's 17 of them. I don't know what you call 17 lawyers. It's not a gaggle. It's something. So that, combined with the fact that a federal judge, the same Beryl Howell, who is responsible for stripping away many of these lawyers' attorney-client privilege that they shared with Donald Trump because of the crime or fraud, she's already stepped forward to protect big law, sending a signal that federal courts were prepared to do so by enjoining, by temporary restraining order, blocking a Trump administration proclamation declaring a law firm in Washington state, Perkins Coie, to be basically persona non grata, radioactive, and put them on a blacklist. She said that violated their First Amendment rights, violated their due process rights. And as and I'll paraphrase her in her ruling, Trump isn't the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. He can't look at somebody that displeases him and says, "Off with your head." Not in our society. So we already had that. So then why did Paul Weiss, a major law firm you may never have heard of, but I know well, it's a competitor firm to the one I started at when I started my career in New York, Skadden. And I know lawyers that work there. Look, one of my law school classmates, I will not name, one of my law school classmates runs a department at Paul Weiss. And he was my roommate when I worked at Skadden for a summer and he worked at Paul Weiss when we were law students in Manhattan. I know the firm like the back of my hand. They knew that the judges were rallying the troops around them. They knew that big law was worried that if you bent the knee to Donald Trump and got under his heel, it would be a terrible, terrible black mark and it would be undermining of our rule of law. And yet they cut the deal. A $40 million extorted deal to provide legal services for Donald Trump and whatever his special projects are. This is a firm that used to pride themselves on being one of the leaders, the shining lights of the American bar. And let me just state the obvious. This rule of law thing of ours, this justice system thing of ours, it is a fundamental foundation of our constitutional republic. People, no matter how smart they are, no matter how many schools they went to, how many degrees they have, if you're not a practicing litigator in federal court or state court, even if you're a lawyer, but you don't do this for a living, what I do for a living, okay, you can't win. It's too complicated. There's too many rules. There's too many procedures. There's too many laws. There's too much research. Comes with years of practice. This is no My Cousin Vinny moment where you learn the code of evidence over a weekend in a movie. That might have been good, to win Marissa Tomei an Academy Award, but that's not how life works. Sure, there are rare examples of prisoners who are pro se, not represented by lawyers, filing petitions to the Supreme Court and winning. They make movies about it. That's not real life. There's tens of thousands of lawsuits every year. Only 70 of them or so make it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. All of them are represented, including by big law. So a big law, which when I say big law, I mean some of the biggest law firms in America, the ones that are 1,000 to 3,000 lawyers in size, 2,000 to 5,000 total people in a firm making between $1 and $3 billion a year in revenue. Then there's the next tier. There's hundreds of other firms in the American lawyer ranking of the top 1,000, that go between, let's say, 200 and 3,000 lawyers. Then there's other lawyers and law firms that are smaller, including one that I run, that where we came from there. I'm an expatriate from big law. And I take my career seriously, my profession deadly seriously. We can't bend the knee like Paul Weiss Not when we're facing Donald Trump on the other side. There's no bargaining with him. You can't bargain with somebody that's kidnapped America and kidnapped democracy and won't even show you a proof of life. You can't do it. Who is he to judge me? Who is he to judge any lawyer? I'm not talking about taking away the policing mechanism we already have for our profession. We've got federal judges that police lawyer conduct. We've got federal rules that police lawyer conduct. We've got bar associations that police lawyer conduct. We've got a whole court system for it. We've got civil suits and malpractice lawsuits that can be filed. We've got plenty of ways to pull a lawyer's ticket. But to have the president of the United States from the bully pulpit because the big law didn't pick them for their team in the schoolyard, he's now going to pay them back? Clean your own house and your 17 lawyers that were all penalized. Sorry. Sorry, folks. Start with your 17 lawyers, including Alina Habba, who were all penalized, sanctioned, disbarred, and or convicted of crimes before you start talking to me about the role of law and lawyers in our society. He's trying to destabilize our judges. He's trying to destabilize our lawyers and law firms because he wants them to not resist him, and he wants them to obey and get under his greasy thumb and his heel. And we do that, we're lost. I'm going to continue to follow all of the numbers, the metrics, the transparency around Donald Trump's phony position taking. What does it mean? It means that every time one of these law firms, there's about 14 of them apparently that's on some sort of blacklist, if they get barred or banned or their clients get barred or banned from working with the federal government or they lose their top secret security clearance, they got to fight. Go find the next Judge Beryl Howell. File another lawsuit. Don't give up. Don't give in. You're not Facebook. Right? You're not Amazon. You're not all these places, all these people now stroking checks to do business. Don't get rid of your DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Don't shutter your pro bono programs. Continue to do what you're supposed to do in our profession. Defend the innocent. Defend people regardless of how notorious their reputation or their cause is, because our system of adversarial justice demands it. Do it for free if you have to. But don't give in and give up to Donald Trump. This too, I assure you, shall pass. Midterms are around the corner. You can sit around all day long contemplating our navel about what happened. What I want to focus on is giving me back and giving America back and democracy back the Senate and the House. And we'll get an impeachment and a conviction. That's my focus right now. And on every time we see a new executive order, phony proclamation, phony memo, phony declaration, we talk about it, we join together here, we speak truth to each other first. As we speak truth to power, more importantly, bring them to heel. They work for us, not the other way around. Till my next reporting, I'm Michael Popak. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.